Chris Smith for Chris Kenny. Well, in the United States, the Democrat camp has been rocked by allegations which may well prove that its candidate Joe Biden has been lying. The New York Post has published damning emails found on an old computer once owned by Biden's troubled son, Hunter. Now, you'll recall that Hunter was earning a king's ransom on the board of a corrupt Ukrainian energy company. His father always maintained he had nothing to do with that company or his son, but an email now proves he did, in fact, meet a senior executive. I caught up with News Corp journalist Miranda Devine earlier today. Before we talk about these bombshell emails, can I ask about the president's son, now COVID-19 positive?
That's right. His youngest son, Barron, who's just 14 and lives in the White House with his mum, Melania, and Donald Trump. We were told initially that he had tested negative, but turns out today we found out from Melania Trump had penned an essay about her family's experience with COVID-19, and she revealed in that Barron actually contracted the disease, but he had no symptoms. He did test positive, but no symptoms. I mean, he's a very healthy, very tall, strapping young boy, and so it's not surprising that he didn't have any symptoms. And I think Melania herself had the disease, but she also had very few minimal symptoms. The worst affected was the president, because, of course, he's 74 years old, he's overweight, he's in that high-risk category. But as you've seen the last couple of days, he's raring to go. 10 days after his diagnosis, he's healthier than ever and full of energy and travelling around the country doing multiple rallies.
Dancing, as a matter of fact, and also some of what he has to say, it's almost like a comedy routine at a comedy festival. He is firing on all cylinders. OK, let's talk about Joe Biden. For a long time, Miranda, Joe Biden has denied having anything to do with those corrupt Ukrainian individuals that were connected to his son. So this has gone on for a long time, and he's actually made the point of saying he hasn't met with any of these corrupt officials, right?
Yes, he's said over and over that he has nothing to do with his son Hunter's business dealings overseas in countries that Joe Biden as vice president had carriage for looking after. He said he's had nothing to do with those lucrative business deals, and he knows nothing about the Ukrainian company Burisma that was paying Hunter Biden as much as $83,000 a month to sit on its board for 5 years. Now, what we're finding out is that actually, thanks to the New York Post, thanks to some emails that we obtained from Hunter Biden's laptop computer that he dropped off at a Delaware Mac repair shop last April and then didn't pick up again. He basically abandoned that laptop after it was fixed and left the Mac repair guy with an $85 bill. We find out from the emails and the photographs that we have now managed to get from the hard drive from this computer that, in fact, there is a lot of evidence that links Joe Biden to his son Hunter Biden and the company Burisma. Now, this is the story we published today in the New York Post. Tomorrow, we have more bombshell evidence coming out, and this is to do with Hunter Biden's business dealings in China.
OK, so not just in the Ukraine, but now in China. We look forward to hearing about that. Go back on a couple of these emails. The first one is damning. It shows that Biden met one of the officials, right?
That's right. There are emails showing that Hunter Biden arranged a meeting between his father, Joe Biden, who was then vice president, in Washington, D.C., with a senior executive from Burisma, which is this corrupt Ukrainian energy company that was paying, as I said, a huge amount of money to Hunter Biden to be on the board. Now, you have to also realize that Hunter Biden is an individual with serious drug problems. He's admitted this. He was drummed out of a post that he held in the Naval Reserve that his father procured for him after just 3 months in his 40s because of cocaine use. The photographs that we have seen on this laptop include multiple photographs and videos of Hunter Biden smoking crack cocaine. There's also a lot of sexually explicit material involving Hunter Biden, which we haven't published. We did publish one photograph today of Hunter Biden asleep with a crack cocaine pipe in his mouth. And we did that not for gratuitous reasons, but to demonstrate that this is not someone you would expect that foreign companies would pay millions of dollars to for when he has no experience in, for instance, an energy company and no real skills and other than for influence with his father.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's why there was so much suspicion, right? Because you're being paid these ridiculous sums of money for no skills that you have, but your surname is linked to the Vice President of the United States. It just made sense to absolutely everyone, common sense, that one stage they would require and demand to meet up with the Vice President, and we now know that they have. Now, tell me this, has Facebook and Twitter really tried to smother the story?
Really? I mean, they're not even pretending they're not smothering it. It's been a joke. Twitter actually locked the New York Post's Twitter account today. Like, just got rid of it. Nothing could come out of the New York Post Twitter account. Every time somebody tried to click on a link to our story, which went up at 5 a.m. our time today, which was 8 p.m. your time last night, they got a message. Initially, there was a message saying that you cannot click on this link because it's malicious and damaging. And then after a while, Twitter changed that to that you actually could eventually find this link, but you got a message telling you that it could be malware or it could be hacked material, so on. And Facebook at the same time also decided to throttle the story. They said that they were, removing it and they were going to fact check it before they allowed it to be widespread on their platform. So these are the two big tech companies, multinational companies, some of the biggest companies in the world, and they are interfering in the US election because Joe Biden, it's 3 weeks till the election. Joe Biden is the Democrats' presidential candidate. We have emails. This isn't just a story. This isn't a he said, she said story. These are emails linking Joe Biden to his family's cash for influence scandal. This is Biden family grift. And this is the first time that there has been an actual physical evidential link between Joe Biden and his son and his brother's business dealings overseas. And Joe Biden, it flies in the face of everything Joe Biden has told us. He has constantly told us that he had nothing to do with it. Now we find that his son Hunter organized for him to meet with a senior executive from Burisma while he was vice president. And not only that, a few months later, Joe Biden flies to Ukraine and he withholds $1 billion in US aid to Ukraine unless the Ukrainian government sacks the prosecutor, the top Ukrainian prosecutor who is investigating Burisma, that energy company paying his son all that money, for corruption. There was a corruption investigation going on at the time. And a few months after that, Viktor Shokin, who was the top prosecutor in Ukraine, was fired. Yeah. So it's a quid pro quo, and it's been followed through. So not only do we have evidence that Hunter Biden is being paid this enormous amount of money, that he's arranged for a meeting with his father, with the top executive from Burisma, but that Joe Biden has then told the Ukrainian government, you're not going to get $1 billion in aid unless you sack the prosecutor who has just gone and confiscated properties from the guy who owns Burisma, the founder of Burisma, and also confiscated his phantom Rolls-Royce.
Yeah, parts of the American media got stuck into Donald Trump when he made those allegations, but the pieces are falling right into place. Has Joe Biden responded to those allegations in the New York Post?
Well, incredibly, Chris, today he had the opportunity. He could have come out, he could have had a press conference, he could have hit back at the allegations that we have printed today, those emails. Radio silence. Joe Biden just went into hiding.
Yeah.
And his campaign put out a statement in which they said that our story was discredited. But the only concrete piece of information that they provided, which rebutted anything that we had published, was they said, oh, we've reviewed Joe Biden's calendar for that period that the meeting with the Burisma executive occurred. His official calendar shows no meeting. But, you know, we know that Joe Biden, as silly as he is, he's not silly enough to include that in his a meeting like that in his official calendar.
Of course not. Of course not. This is clearly a turning point in the election campaign. You can't overstate it.
Well, it ought to be, and certainly the reaction of these big social media companies, which obviously are in the tank for Joe Biden and the Democrats, tells you everything. They are absolutely terrified about this story. It's a story that's been bubbling around for ages that Joe Biden's managed to get away with, but this sniff of corruption that has hung around him for so long has now been nailed by our story. And it's not just a story, as I say, it is actual emails and photograph from Hunter Biden's laptop.
Quite amazing. Miranda Devine, thank you very much for all of that.
Thank you, Chris.
Heavy-duty allegations, and the New York Post going for the second tranche tomorrow.